Please welcome our next speaker, David Musgrave, a managing director. Today, he will be presenting Leveraging GP Power Tools as a Consultant. Please stick around after David's session for a live Q&A.
Hello and welcome to my Dynamics Con session. Very glad that you guys voted for me and got me into the agenda. This session is leveraging GP Power Tools as a consultant. It's going to be covering a lot of the areas of GP Power Tools, but trying to focus on some of the things that a consultant would like. So a little introduction to myself. I'm David Musgrave. I'm the Managing Director of Winthrop Development Consultants. I'm a Microsoft MVP. I've been in the Dynamics world since 1994. I did lose my soul for 13 and a half years as I worked with Microsoft, but after leaving, I did get it back eventually. I'm from Perth, Western Australia, and it's a late time when I'm recording this, but it'll be early for you. So a little bit about GP Power Tools. You might know the history of it, that it originally came from the support debugging tool, which I wrote while I was at Microsoft. When I left Microsoft, it was rebranded as GP Power Tools in 2015, and it's available for all versions of GP from GP 2010 right through to the current 18.3 Modern Lifecycle GP version. It contains 3 modules. It has the administrator tools, the developer tools, and the database tools. And as soon as you register one of those 3 modules, you also get a suite of system features. So a little bit of information on what's on the different tools. I'm not going to go into huge detail with this. Administrator tools covers everything that makes the system easier to use and makes your job as an administrator simpler, and provides a lot of usability functions that just helps users do their job without other issues. The developer tools includes all of the scripting and triggering capabilities that can be used either for debugging or for customizations. And they have the ability to replace VBA. They can do work with reports. They can work with web services. They can work with custom drillbacks from other applications. There is a whole load of features that you can use, and we'll be demonstrating some of those. The database tools includes a number of tools to help the database administrator, including the database validation tool, which we'll demonstrate, which will cover the making sure that all of the data in the GP tables matches what's in SQL, so all of your users and companies are correct. It also makes sure that the tables are the correct format. We've also got the ability so it can fix logins after you've moved to a new server, or when you're creating a test environment. And it's got other features in there as well for fixing up logins, and also for its importing and exporting small amounts of data, so you can back up without having to take an entire database. The system features give you some really cool one-click features. So we can capture 5 different logs with one click. We can capture screenshots with a single click. We can send emails from inside GP if we want to, and that's very handy sometimes on a terminal server where they don't have an email client installed. And we can also change dex.ini settings from within GP in a nice interface. So really, this session is primarily a demo session, and so that's what we're going to do. Let me get out of PowerPoint. So we're going to now, Power Tools is installed, and you can see we have the area page showing. Power Tools can be accessed using the icon up here to open up the login control window. And move that to over there. And you can also get to it from all of the other menus, so under transactions and under tools and so on. It's also available from the tools menu on any window, so we'll be able to use that later. But the best way to get access to it is from the main GP Power Tools area page. So now, to give you an idea of some of the things we can do, we'll look now at if you've got some sort of technical problem, one of the first things that's going to happen is that you contact support and they're going to say to you, I would like you to provide screenshots of the open windows that you've got so we can get an idea of what's happening when this error occurs. So you might have multiple windows open, and you could have lots of things on the go. And if you were to take the old style of recording the screenshots, you would need to basically use the snipping tool, bring each window to the front, use the snipping tool, put it into a Word document or something like that, and then you'd be able to do that for each one manually. Okay. And it takes quite a bit of time. So I've got a few windows open now. So I'm just going to go up to any window and say capture screenshots. And it will show me a list of the windows, and then I can say, let's send that via email. Here is the email it has created, and it has all of the attached windows. It has the dynamics.set file, it has a system summary report, and it has both the system level and user level dex.ini files. And in this system summary, which is also in the body of the email, it has details of everything in this system. So as a consultant, you will be provided with everything about the system, which includes the licensing, what modules are registered, the login information and details about the workstation itself, what SQL versions are in use, what ODBC versions are in use. It'll then include information about the Dynamics data, or the Dynamics database and the company databases, and then it has runtime information, so the version of the runtime, some settings. It'll show you all of the customizations installed as per customization maintenance, the add-ins, the Visual Studio add-ins that are installed, and then it will list off every single dictionary and what version it is, and whether it has found the custom forms and reports and the matching dictionary assembly DLL files. So if we get down to the bottom, we also include right at the bottom the details of the attachments on that actual report. So they're included on the email, and it will tell you with these attachments whether or not they're original or alternate windows or modified windows. So you'll have all of that information sent to you with a single click. Okay, now I made it so I could actually see the email, but you can have this email sent without actually having any user interaction beyond clicking the email button on the screen. Okay, so now that's one bit of the information, but the other thing that you often get asked is, can you provide logs of, what actually happened, or logs of the problem occurring? Now, usually the way you do that would be to exit GP, modify the dex.ini, turn on SQL logging, come back in, and you'll probably find the problem doesn't occur. And if it does occur, you can capture the log, but you've got to go and delete the beginning of the SQL execute. I'm sorry, the SQL dex SQL log, and then you need to capture it, and then you've got to turn off the stuff, and you only end up with one log. With Power Tools, I can just come in and say start manual logging, and you'll notice that 5 different logs are now active. And then if I say stop, or I could do my save and then stop logging, I've now captured that save event, and I can send that as an email straight to my support team. So I can come in here, I can open up the zip file now they've all been saved to a shared folder, but they're also available in a zip file. And on this zip file, you've got the macro of the user activity, you've got the dexterity scripts that were executed, you've got the dexterity profile, which shows you the timings, so it's really good for performance issues, and what tables were touched. The dex SQL log, which is the log you normally know, communication between dexterity and SQL, and then you get the SQL trace, is what's actually happened at SQL after the dex SQL log. So this is the whole chain, right from user interface all the way through to SQL Server. And again, that was a single click to capture. Okay, so the other thing that we've done is we've made some other features in here that make it easier so that you don't make mistakes about entering data into wrong companies. So one of the things is I'm going to actually launch a second session, and you'll be able to see this in action. So at the moment I'm logged in as SA, so I'm going to start a second session and I'm going to log in as David. And there's a few things that will happen as we go along. Okay, so first thing you might notice is the width of this drop down takes the entire window. That's Power Tools widening that. It's also adjusting the order. I can control the order that the drop downs appear. I can use custom orders, or I can use an indexed order. I'm also adding the name of the database into this screen. So I'm going to log into the test company, which has a really long name, which you normally wouldn't be able to see all of it. Okay, for a start, I'm getting a warning that my password is due to expire. So this is Power Tools giving me the chance to deal with my password before it expires. I've got it warning quite a few days ahead, but you don't have to go that far. But by warning me, I don't get the problem where I might end up having my password expire while I'm in the middle of a session, because that causes all kinds of trouble. So at this stage, I'm not going to change it. You'll also notice now Power Tools is completing the login process in the background. And so while it's cleaning up the menus and finishing all of the other work that that Dynamics does on login, I'm not allowed to actually do anything. So once login is completed, I can actually get into the system. So you might have noticed the green, so, and as well the David and the name of the company. So my user ID and the company ID are stored on the toolbar, and they're shown on every window. So another thing, now this is a standard GP feature to have a message pop up and tell you in the test company, but Power Tools makes it very easy to apply this. It's based on the company name, and Power Tools will allow you to apply that change if you wish to a company. Okay, so I'm now logged in, and I'm just going to go and go to shortcuts and sales transaction entry. So now, while I'm in here, you might have seen this screen pop up. So this is a feature in Power Tools which allows me to choose on the fly which version I want to use of a window. So I've got both an original and a modified. The security is pointing to the original, but I can, if I wish to, open the modified. Right now, I'm just going to keep on the original. And you'll notice we've got this green background, and that's because I'm in the test company. So all of this is helping me with usability and making sure that I've got the visual cues that which company I'm in. So we're now going to swap now to a bit of a security demonstration. So I'm going to go into create return, and a couple of things happen. Okay, so one thing happens is I get the message, you don't have security privileges to open this window. Now, most of you would have seen that window. However, the Power Tools is adding the information onto here, telling you security access has been denied to the window. It's giving me the name of the window, both its technical and display names, and telling me what dictionary it's from. So that's one bit. Now, the other thing is I've asked the security profiler to open automatically when it believes an error is about to occur. So it's opened and it's captured the error. You can see it says denied, and it's providing more information here about which dictionary and what's been denied. So I have educated my users to export this or email this, which they can do, and then send it to, okay, exported, and they can send it to the administrator or send an email to the administrator, and the administrator then will be able to deal with it. So I'm going to come back to the SA login. Now you'll notice that I can see, because I've got these prefixes, I know which instance is the SA instance. So I'll come back to SA, I'll open up Security Profiler, I'll import the log. So this is the same log that was just exported. And I can see exactly the same error now that was shown on for the user. So now I can actually say, well, let's get some security information about this and actually understand what's happening. So I click on security, security information. So on this screen, I can straight away see that David doesn't have access. In fact, David doesn't have access in either company. I can see that DynSA and SA do, but that's because they're power users. But I can also see that in the current company, which is the test company, lesson user 1 and 2 don't have access but to those companies, but in Fabricam themselves, they don't have access to the window. Okay, so you can see here, David, no access. So to work out how to give them access, I'm going to expand the system level. And I can either give them power user power user status, which I won't do. I could give them super user. Now, super user is a concept that Mark Polino came up with, which is to have a user and a task, a security role and task that has access to everything. So that's what the super user is. It's maintained automatically by Power Tools. It can be audited when the power user bypasses security and can't be audited. So looking at this, though, the TRX FSS RTO1 task gives me access by either the RT agent or RT manager role. So let's give David a double click and enter the system password. And I'll give David access to RT agent, save it, and redisplay, and you'll see now David has access to the original. You also saw I dismissed it, but there was a message saying that he's logged in and that he'll need to log in again, which is not actually true. Let me go back to David. So actually, we'll go back to David and this one. Okay, so first of all, I can pop in here now and go to create return, and it works. So the problem has been solved. And the other thing then is if you've changed something which affects the GP navigation, rather than having to log out and log back in again, you can always go up to the options menu on the profiler and say refresh application navigation, and that will fix the problem and make the menu show up if it was something on the menus. So let me get out of there now. And we'll leave David running for now. Okay, so I'm just going to go and bring up David again and remove RT agent because we don't need to give him access to that anymore. So now the other thing is that is very common is that you get asked to have two users with the same tasks and roles, but I need to take one thing away from one user. So if you get a situation like that in GP, the only way you can do that is to duplicate all of the tasks and roles that gave that user access to the window, and then modify the duplicated tasks and roles and give that to the other user. And over time, you're going to end up with a whole load of tasks and roles that are subtly different, with no easy way of telling what's between them or different between them, and you're going to have basically a nightmare. What was going to be a really nice task and role-based security model has become a nightmare. So, and the problem is that unlike Windows or SQL, which have a grant and a deny layer, GP's got no deny layer. So that's what Power Tools gives you. So if I pop over here and I pop into the enhanced security window, I can come in and I can say, let's choose David, and we'll choose David in the test company. And I'll go on the menus and I'll go to cards and sales, and I'll say David is useless at updating customers, and I'm going to take access away. So regardless of what the tasks and roles have told him or tell the security system, that's now overridden because it's been customer maintenance is denied. And this works for every single security object. So I can come in and say, he's no good at doing returns. I'm going to take away the ability to do returns. And I might take it away in both companies. So we can do that, and we can do this over here as well. Okay, so return both companies. Okay, so now the other thing is that there are some choices on the menus that you cannot get rid of with security. An example is on Tools and Setup. There is this Setup Checklist feature. The window itself is exempt from security, so there's no way to actually make it disappear from the menus. With Power Tools, though, I can actually say, let's hide this in both companies. So that's all done now. And it's just that was all that needed to be done. If I come in here, I can actually say, show me the hidden security and the denied security. So I'll open up both windows. And I can say in here, show me for all users and companies. And you'll see here, I've got the various things I've hidden. And this can be exported or printed. So you can provide that to your auditor if needed. So now, just to clean up, I'm just going to say mark all and delete. And mark all and delete. So that's the enhanced security, deny-based security feature. Now, sometimes you might also find that you need to deal with your auditor. And if they come up to you and start saying, what does someone have access to? The security information window can be used. If I was to click on a role or task, let's click on a task and say, show me the resource information, show resources. Show resources. You'll see here, it shows me everything that they have access to. If I click on the role, it will show me everything that is part of that role. And if I click on the user, it's going to show me everything that that user has access to. And that's going to be the reports, the windows, tables, everything that's here, which when it's finished loading, I can then export out as tab or comma delimited, so my auditor can open it up with Excel and play in Excel to their heart's content. Okay, so next thing we should show you is a little bit about license tracking. So one of the things that you need to do is be able to monitor your user activity. So we can turn on user activity tracking, and we can show every time a user logs in or out, we can record that. We've actually, by default, the log records statistics, so it says how many times a user is logged in or out, and it records the last 3 dates and times. But we do have the ability to actually also say keep detailed records, so I can actually have a look at exactly when I've logged in and out for the last so many days. It will keep the data for a number of days. The other thing that I can do is it tracks the maximum number of users logged in at any time and provides a nice graph, so you'll be able to actually see your users and see how you're going against your licenses. So now that's going to help you understand how many licenses you're using at any time, but it doesn't necessarily help you minimize those licenses. So we got a couple of extra features. So we'll pop into administrator settings, and under the options section here, I have got an automatic logout with a whole number of features and options that you can choose, including the ability to smart save or close inquiry windows, or even remove the activity record if the user fails to log out. Now, the logout is handled, it is perfectly safe, so it runs after any background processes, and it is the equivalent of saying file exit. It cannot log you out if the user is in the middle of something, but if the records can be saved, it will be able to save those and close. So, all right. The other thing then is, if you've got a number of multiple companies, you might find that users are logging into multiple companies, and that's using up a lot of your licenses. So we do have the ability to control that with login limits, and we can set a maximum number of sessions that is allowed on a per user. So I could actually say, maybe each user is allowed 2, but then I could actually say, well, DynSA is exempt from this, but we'll let SA have 3. DynSA also has this reserved option activated. So this allows me to reserve a license. So even though I've got 20 licenses here, I've only got 19 available to other users because one of them has been reserved for SA. Really handy for either the administrator or financial controller. It will ensure they always have a license to get back in. Okay, so just give you a little bit of troubleshooting stuff that you can play with here. So we talked about logs and screenshots, but the other thing that you're going to get asked by support teams is, have you got any third-party products? Have you got any customizations? Can you disable them, but can you take them out of the dynamics.set, which is quite a bit of work. Plus, if you're on a terminal server, can affect other users. I should actually also mention, if you're on a terminal server, the logging doesn't affect anyone else and only captures the one session that you're actually logging. Okay, but if you want to, you can come in here and you can use dictionary control, and you can disable for the current session the triggers and the security access to modified or alternate windows. So if I come in here and turn off Smart List and apply that, if I open up customer maintenance and bring up a lookup, you'll see that I've got the old style of lookup. And that was done without actually modifying the launch file or having to exit. So I can come in here, I can turn products on and off. Now, if I want to, I can also say to keep them off when I come back after login. So basically, I can actually stop this product being active. And if I do say after login, I do have the ability to control, like many of the other features in Power Tools, I can actually select this on a per user, per company, class or security role task basis and control who has access. Okay, so I'm just going to reset this back and bring everything back to normal. Okay, so the now that we've got the ability to control products, the other thing is maybe we've got a problem where we need to actually understand a bit more about where data is being stored. So let me pull up the resource information window. Maybe, let's say we've got a problem. It's somebody's turning on the hold on the customer, and I'm not quite sure how that's happening. So I'm going to put this in form mode. I'm going to go and open the window I'm interested in. So let's say now, because I've got Power Tools installed, I'm going to use another little feature that it has. Actually, I'll use two features. One of them, I'm going to say raise all windows, which will bring my windows back to the front. And then I'm going to press Control F while I'm on this window and type in customer, and it's brought up all of the different places that customer exists. And I'm going to go to the customer cards, and there we go, and open up customer maintenance. So all right, so we've got customer maintenance open, and I'll go back to that raise all windows. So you can actually see that the resource information is tracking what field I'm on and information about where it's stored. So now I can actually use this associated tables feature and pull up the list of associated tables, and it will show me the tables, and it will limit it to which tables have that field in. But there is actually a new feature in Power Tools which is even more powerful. If I go to, if I'm on that field that I'm interested in, I can just go to Tools on any window, and I can get to both the resource information but also the new resource finder window. And this will tell me straight away what field I'm on and which table it's in. So basically I can straight away know that that's where it's stored. So now, knowing that, I can say, well, I'm going to put some triggers on this window. So let me discard that for now. And I've already got them set up. So I'm just going to say turn on automatic start. And so it's logging right now. And you'll see I've got these triggers sitting here, and they're monitoring the user customer maintenance window. And they're trying to capture when the when the hold has been put on. So if I put on hold, you'll see that it's fired the trigger. And when I save, it's actually put another message up, and then it will perform a whole lot of actions, which include actually capturing the logs and the screenshots and saving all of that. And it's got one message. Where's the other one? It's coming. Okay. So this is the logs with all the information. And That's that one. And there is the screenshots of all the screens plus the report. So all of that was sent automatically when that error occurred. The logs show me everything that happened right up to the point of the error occurring. So that's how easy it is to capture logs. Now, that was using the triggers for debugging purposes by looking for a problem and capturing logs, but I can also use it for other purposes such as self-service scripts and writing customization. So just give you a little bit of a look at a self-service script. I'm going to pull up a project. So I've got a project here. It's got a few different triggers. So I'll start those triggers. Okay, now the triggers normally would start automatically. I've asked them not to for my system. So this here allows me to create a SQL script. And this SQL script can do anything. So if you've ever got SQL scripts that you run to fix something, and you normally have to ask your partner or your administrator to go and run the script on a particular customer, you can create these scripts, whatever they are, put them into the system, and then you can actually make them available to the users for self-service. So right now, this is a script, and you can actually see I'm using a combination of dexterity and SQL column names and table names. When I actually execute this, I have a parameter list set up which will ask me for a starting and ending customer number, and it will apply all of that information. So here's my customers, and I can choose from and to. I've got some defaults in there. It will put all that information in and displays the result set. So now the thing is, I don't want to let my users be able to see these scripts, so I could then just publish it. So if I publish it, I can go to the executor window instead, and they can actually only see the script by its name. They can't see the code, they can't change it, and if you hit execute, it behaves the same way. But that does mean that they've got to go and open this executor window, which obviously it's easy to find. It's just down here under inquiry. But wouldn't it be more useful if they could actually do it from the customer maintenance window? So using a trigger, I've actually added it to the customer maintenance window. You can come down here and say execute query, and you can run that query again. And that query can also have go-tos applied to it, which make it perform tasks. So on this one, I can, I've got it making either providing a list of the selected customers, so you can perform an action on multiple customers, and then you can say, perform this action on those customers so that they're listed here, or whatever is at the top, I can double-click and it will select that customer. So that's one way. But what happens if I don't even want to ask? I can say, well, I want to just use the customer ID that's here. So then I can go and say, well, let's perform it on the selected one. And it now just performs it. It didn't ask me, and there's the results performed on that customer. So you can make it ask, not ask. You can read the data off the window, whatever you want. You've got a lot of flexibility. So now that's self-service scripts. The other one then is customizations. Now, VBA is currently it's end of life, and it doesn't run on all environments anymore because of security issues. So Power Tools actually has the ability to replace VBA. So I'm going to open the project setup again. And I've got a demo that I've created. Now, this demonstration is actually available online. It's, with step-by-step instructions and a video, so you can actually do the same thing to see how it was built from my blog. So I'm just going to start the triggers. This is on the item window, and I'm adding a URL field. So if I open the original window, you can see that down the bottom there is nothing here. So let's open it again and open up the modified window. So using this dynamic product selection allows me to actually make choose while I'm developing which window I want, and I can actually say make it to only my user gets asked those questions. And then later, once I've got it all working and I want to deploy, I can actually change the master security records. So you'll see here I've used modifier, I've added a field. I've added a prompt and a hyperlinked button. So pull up a record, you'll see there's a domain or whatever web address. And if I was to click on the button, it will open the web address and take you to my website. Cool. Okay, So this gives me the ability, you'll see if I hit save, it basically looks like the field was there as part of the original code, but it is running modifier to create the field on the window. And then instead of using VBA, it's all written with GP Power Tools. We've got basically a trigger on the button for the for zooming. We've got the delete event. We got the field event, which means it puts in the HTTP if you forget to put it in. We've got when I read a record, when I save a record. And the final bit is I've got there is a report writer function so that I can drop this field straight onto the report. So if I pull it up again and I say print the report and I print the modified version of the report, standard to the screen, and you'll see that the HTTP has been dropped in there. Okay. So now, one of the other things you'll notice, I'm running version 18.3, but the screen output is not maximized. In fact, Power Tools is remembering exactly where and what size I want it, and whether I want it maximized or not maximized, and whatever it is when I close it is what it gets restored to. Okay, so I'm going to stop the triggers. All right, so that gives you an idea of some of the things you can do with the customizations. Okay, so I'm going to run database validation, and that is going to fix up all of the issues that I might have on the system, which we just created. So you can see I've got a number of issues showing with the users and companies, so I'm going to very quickly fix these up. So the DynSA password or login is missing, so let's give it a password and create that. This will make DynSA the owner of the databases. It's going to create the DynSA GP user and give them access to all companies. We have references in GP to a company that doesn't exist at SQL. So this will do the equivalent of the cleanup company code. Now, when we come down to users, this user, lesson user 2, let's keep that user. These two exist in GP, but not at SQL. So I'm going to just remove them out of GP. So lesson user 2 is going to create in password for me, and it's going to send that automatically. I'm going to ask it to automatically generate passwords, enforce the policy, and change your next login. Okay, you can remove invalid records from the company access, grant give access to Dyn Group, and make sure that all the users have got DBO as their schema, and finally create any missing users in the company access tables. So we'll run that. Okay, and we get a report to the screen, which we can have a look at, but we don't necessarily need to, because it has emailed it to the users as well, but there's the report with the password it generated. So now we can also hit Fix Utilities, and this will look for all of the any references to missing products or missing companies and clean them out. And they are often the cause of problems when you do upgrades, so this will make sure that the upgrades are smooth. I'm going to look for framework errors. So this is checking the account framework that's in each of the company databases, in the system database and the application, and it is finding that the system database has got some differences, so it's going to actually clean those up to match what the account framework is in the application. Okay, and finally we've got this option of fixed tables. Now fixed tables is blank at the moment, but we can come in here, we say process, and it will run through and it will identify all of the tables that exist in GP as well as in SQL, and then I have the option of coming in and saying to it, go and validate, and now it's going to go through, and I'm only doing dynamics for speed, but it's going to go through and check every single table and make sure that the format actually matches the format in the Dexterity. So it's looking for differences between what the Dexterity dictionaries say and what SQL has recorded for formats. It will then, once it's completed, it'll allow me to go in and I can recreate the tables. If there's data in them, it backs it up, then recreates them, and allows me to fix the issues. So you can basically make sure that all the tables are in perfect order before you actually do your upgrade, and that will ensure that you don't have any problems. So I've got a report, but I can actually see all of it on the screen just by expanding and looking at the data that is found. So we've got some errors. So these tables have got problems. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to just ask it to fix it. Okay, so we can say fix these ones and process. And we're all done. So that gives you an idea of what database validation can do. We get a report when we exit, so we can actually see everything that was done. So that's basically an overview of a lot of GP Power Tools, but there's still masses more to look at. So basically now we have a chance for some Q&A, and please feel free to put any questions that you'd like to ask into the chat, and we'll make sure that you get an answer. For more information, here are my details for being able to contact me, or also look up the products on the blog or on our website. So thank you very much, and I'll be here to answer your questions. Hi everyone, thank you for attending my session. I hope you found it enjoyable. It's all great that you guys are getting involved with DynamicsCon. So my name's David Musgrave from Winthrop Development Consultants. I'm based in Perth, Australia. It's approaching midnight here, and unlike Mark, I'm not going on an adventure. I'm going to be going off to sleep after this session. So if you've got any other questions, please feel free to ask them. There's a few that are already in the list, and there's a couple that I've got from earlier. So let me try and get through these as best I can. So one of the questions I had was, should GP Power Tools be installed on all machines? And the answer to that is yes. Everywhere that GP is installed, every workstation and server where GP is, GP Power Tools should be installed. That's the only way you're going to get the full functionality everywhere. There is functionality such as automatic logout and tracking of user activity and logins and security, and it's only going to be able to capture and deal with all of that if it's installed everywhere. So you really must have GP Power Tools installed everywhere for it to function fully. Another question is, how is it sold? So GP Power Tools has 3 modules. There is a base price of $100, and then the modules of $400 each. So you can look that up on the website. But it is a subscription model, just be aware of that. So the price is cheap first year, but it is the same price every year. So it's not like a percentage in later years, it's the same price. If you want to try it before actually paying for it, there's a 30-day free trial that you can install and just use. Versions that it's on, it's basically on version 11 through, well, actually, I think it's, version 11 all the way through to current version. So do make sure that with the 18, 18.2 and 18.3 that you get the right version. It won't let you install on the wrong version, but you will need to make sure you get the right download. One question was asked about feedback and ideas. GP Power Tools was built on feedback and ideas from the community, from my friends, from my experiences in 13 years of support at Microsoft. So that is how the tool was created. We found something that needed fixing, and we wrote a fix for it. So please give me ideas. The tool is in constant development. I've got some great things planned already. So if you want to log them, just go to the Contact Us page on the website, winthropdc.com, and you can log anything you want there. Okay. What we got here? There is a question that was asked about doing database validation and when you got PSTL installed. I don't do anything specifically with the PSTL. That's the Professional Service Tools Library, or nicknamed Pistol. But my database validation tools are available for GP 2013 if you want to be able to use them. I develop across the last 5 or 6 versions, so all of my code is current on those versions. So there's a question, having several hundred companies, does it provide assistance during the upgrade process? It's not specifically, but if there's things that you want to do, you could always code things. You could lock out companies. You could use the company login filter and hide the choices of the companies that haven't yet been upgraded. It really depends on what you're trying to do there. Okay, so can consultants install GP Power Tools at a client size, use database validation without having to purchase? No. I had to do that because we were finding that consultants were using the free trial and they were installing GP Power Tools at a customer just to do an upgrade with no intention of ever paying me for my product. So the database validation tools are not part of the free trial. That does require a subscription. I'm sorry, but I need to make a living. So just seeing Belinda's comment there, mentioning the finding what table data is in, that feature in the resource finder is new in build 28. And it's a lot more powerful than the old resource information window. You can even, it actually has the same functionality as the search all DB, so you can just type in a bit of data. And if you want, you can limit it to say, only look in RM tables, and it will tell you everywhere that data resides. So how to get the free trial of Power Tools? Just install it and follow the on-screen instructions. You'll need to fill in your customer details, and it does need to be customer details. Don't put in a partner email address, and then you can just click on the key icons and activate the 30-day trial. Once you've got the trial active, if you decide to purchase, which most people do, it's just a matter of organizing the purchase, and the subscription license comes in automatically over the internet. So Amber likes the high-res resolution fixing. So I didn't actually cover that, but there is some tools in there which automate the usually manual fixes for fixing the registry and the manifest files to make it work on high-res machines when you've got your DPI set to 200. Works very nicely, and particularly on Surface devices which have a really high resolution. So something that I have been asked before is about web client. So not everything in GP Power Tools works on the web client, but most functionality does. There are some things that don't work just because Microsoft doesn't support them. Sadly, the color coding, when the web client is rendered, it completely ignores the color coding settings. So that functionality is not available, not because I couldn't do it, because Microsoft didn't bother letting the dexterity commands work. So the automatic logout feature, that's something as well that people have asked about. If you are using the automatic logout feature, it's actually not possible to track inactivity in Dynamics, but it is possible to track activity. So it picks up whenever there's events and it updates its internal timer. If it sees no activity for a period of time, it will log you out safely using the equivalent of file exit. And it does that after any background processes. So there's a question about freezing screens. Quite often freezing screens are not actually freezing, but just GP is busy and it reports back that the application is not responding. If you know a process where you think you're getting into some sort of infinite loop, you can actually activate the logging, capture the logs, and the last script executed in the log, even if it crashes, will tell us where the problem occurs. So we can use that to help debug. So auto maximize question here. So the auto maximize on reports, GP Power Tools can't actually disable the auto maximize. What it does is it remembers whether you want it maximized or minimized, and maximized or restored. And if you just want it normal, and you can position it wherever you want, it will remember that and it restores it to that. So on 18.3, it might open maximized, and then you'll see it shrink down to the size that you've asked for. So just installing the latest build of Power Tools and it will sort it for you. So question about automatic logout working on the web client. Yes, that does work on the web client. Long time ago, there was an issue where it would actually close GP but not disconnect the web client session. That issue has been fixed. So it does work nicely. So something else is, you can look at this from replacing all your VBA with GP Power Tools so that you can continue to have customizations that are easily modifiable and maintainable. You would then be able to have all of that code within GP Power Tools, and you can do all kinds of things. There's a page on my blog of sample code, including SQL-based lookups. So if you just type in type in a few characters, like if you type in facts, it will show you, for items, it will show you any item that has facts in any of its descriptive fields. The search that it uses is completely customizable. So you can actually say which fields you want to include in the search and what fields you want to see in the return data. And you can then double click on that. So basically, once you've got Power Tools, you can have SQL-based lookups for free. And I've already added them to items, customers and vendors, and you can just download that and install it and have it in your system. So I think we're getting to the end of time and the end of questions. So anything that I have missed? Let me have a quick look. I do love the fact that you guys, I have some great supporters out there already who are saying very nice things about my tool, which is awesome. Please provide feedback. I fix any issues very quickly. I add features very quickly. As I said, I got some great stuff coming. I'm not going to give away too many hints yet, but I do also have a beta group where I have a number of sites who beta test the code when it's written before it goes out to the general public. And if you are particularly interested in joining that, please contact me. So just what we got? Settings. Oh yes, setting. I fixed, that was Amber's request about fixing this homepage settings. It does that. While we're on that, you also have the ability to repurpose the Connect page and the Intelligent Cloud Insights page, or you can hide Intelligent Cloud Insights entirely. So you don't need to be annoyed by that if you don't want to. So that is all sorted. Okay, any other questions? I think we might be done. So I am very appreciative of everybody who's come to the session. I hope we have got to all your questions. Please feel free to contact me on my website. So just, where is it? This is Cooter. I decided to bring him to the foreground. This is a bear created by Leslie Vale. Very, very cute. So Cooter and I are going to go and say goodbye. Thank you very much for attending, and I will see you hopefully in person soon, assuming we can get through all this trouble we've been having. Bye.